Hey everybody, we are on the road again. We're leaving
Paso Robles. If I said it right, I probably messed it up.
Yeah, we should do a whole segment on how to pronounce Paso Robles.
Well, considering everyone said it different, I don't know. We're leaving there and heading to Pinnacles National Park.
Hey Michelle, what is a pinnacle?
I have no idea.
We have no idea what to expect.
We probably could have Googled that.
I mean, obviously we could have done the research and looked it all up, and we did look at the park website a little bit back
we still don't really
made
know.
our plan. But we have absolutely no idea what to expect from this national park that we are about an hour away from.
Well, and not only that, we don't know what to expect, but we're actually camping in the national park.
We are camping in the park, which is the only opportunity we had on this trip to camp in a national park campground.
We could have done it other times. Either there was something more interesting somewhere else, or they didn't have electricity, or we were staying too long. I don't know. There are a variety of reasons, but we're not staying in too many national parks this trip.
We have no idea what we're going to see here at Pinnacles National Park. This may be the absolute worst YouTube video ever created.
No way. It's a national park. It's going to be beautiful.
It's got to be spectacular for some reason, right?
It will be.
All right, so we're in Pinnacles National Park in the campground, which is over by the east entrance. I think it's the only campground in the entire park.
It is.
And we are in the tent only section right now. And a lot of these sites are just really nice. This is a pretty small one. Some of them are significantly bigger.
They have a group site area and an RV site area.
Normally there's a pool. It's closed for the summer this year, but that's normally a feature. Plenty of bathhouses and bathrooms around. Lots of water access around this area. We see spigots probably every third or fourth campsite. Just a lot of really nice big sites like that one right there. A lot of them very secluded back in the trees back here in the tent area, which is good because it is hot here. It was up to 97 degrees today, and tomorrow's supposed to be, I think, a little warmer. And they said in the park, when you're on the trails, a general rule of thumb on the trails is to add 10 degrees to whatever the campground temperature is. So our hike tomorrow is going to start at 5:30 a.m. so that we can get out with the sun. So here's another site, and you can see how the tent area goes way back in there. Now, the one thing I will say as we're walking, things here are very buggy. I'm not sure if it's mosquitoes or flies or what, but things are buzzing by my ears about every couple of seconds. And it is a pretty arid area, although there's a little stream that runs kind of right down through the middle of this tenting area.
Probably why there's mosquitoes.
Yeah, especially if there's stagnant water in the pools. So here's another section of the tent-only sites. Good example of a big site. These are a little more open and are not shaded.
Now the fire pits, she said no.
Yeah, no fires at
until
all.
the fall. In the fall, you can have fires again, but the fire risk is too high. You can have propane fires, but that's it.
And by the way, yay, recycling dumpsters, which of course we've come to expect in national parks. It's probably been my biggest disappointment on this trip is the number of RV parks that have just no options at all for recycling. It's really unfortunate. Another one of the bathhouses, bathroom.
Quite a few.
And just really beautiful views in this park. All right, so back there is the camp store, which is also where the visitor center and the pool is. The visitor center is currently closed because it's under construction. Here's a little area with a couple of telescopes that are free to view the surrounding hillside. And I don't know if they would view the night sky very well or not. It just says for distant viewing. But these are not the machines you put a quarter in. So the thing you'd be looking for up here really are California condors. And then over here, this is the RV area. First of all, we want to point out these little tents. So there are a bunch of these kind of spread throughout the campground.
Like a dozen of them?
Yeah, at least. And we peeked in one of the doors and it had a double bed and 2 singles. So it would sleep 4. No bathroom, no sink, no chairs, no tables. Really just a place to sleep. There was one little Adirondack chair, and no linens. So you'd still need to bring all your stuff. But it would be a nice option if you didn't want to set up your tent for a night. Oh, this one's got a fan inside of it. I don't know if you can see that. So I don't know if they all would typically come with a fan or not. There is an electric pedestal, so you could run your own electricity into it. And then here's kind of the RV section. A little less shade, a little more open. Although at our site, right there, we've got this beautiful oak tree.
We're set 89. It has great shade.
This site does have great shade. There are 2 sites right next to us, 87 and 88, which have really typically no shade at all during the bulk of the day. But our site, we've got 30 amp service, no 50 amp service. It looks like anywhere in the park. And selected shade depending on where you are in the park. So we've finished our nighttime walk. We've checked out our trailhead for tomorrow morning. And here's our evening view. Good morning.
Good early morning.
Very early morning. It is just a few minutes after 6. And we are starting our hike here in Pinnacles National Park.
We have 1 day of hiking, so we're making it a good one.
We are doing about a 10-mile approximately hike. We left from our campsite, which is pretty awesome, to not have to drive the car to go anywhere. Right now we're walking on the Bench Trail, and we are making a loop that goes from the Bench Trail to the Sycamore Trail, up Condor Gulch Trail, and then down the Blue Oak Trail to return.
We're climbing 1,000 feet today.
Just over 1,000.
And you gotta start early. But let's talk about the temperature. So
today's high is supposed to be about 92, I think.
But when you go higher,
well,
right?
for some reason, normally when you climb an altitude,
Yeah, I know.
Climbing in elevation usually means lower temperatures. But the one thing that they said yesterday, the park ranger warned us that in this park, all the trails are 10 degrees warmer than the campground. Unfortunately, we are not feeling that right now. You'll notice we're both in long sleeves.
I could easily have another layer on.
It is about 55 degrees this morning.
Yesterday, it was 97, I think.
Yeah, 97 here. They said on Dry Gulch, it was 104. Or Dry Condor Gulch, it was 104.
So these temperature swings are intense.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But this morning, we've already seen a whole bunch of rabbits and quail.
But big
on
rabbits.
The trail. Yeah, big jackrabbits and quail on the trail, which is kind of cool. And
a lot of sleepy tenters
waking up early in the cold. And we're really hoping to get some glimpses today of the California condor. That's an endangered bird, the largest bird in North America. They're 9.5 feet wingspan. They weigh about 10 pounds. And we're hoping to get some views of some. And of course, views of the pinnacles, which we finally found out what they are, but we're not going to tell you yet.
You know how we found out what they are? A brochure.
Park information.
But we got to see it for ourselves in our 1 day.
All right, we're going to start hiking a little faster to warm up. We just started getting little peaks of sun on us, so we're starting to warm up a little bit. And it took us this long just to get to the sign welcoming us to the national park.
There was a little tiny one when we got into the park before the campground, and we kind of thought, there's always a pretty sign. Well, here's
a pretty sign, 1.5 miles down the road.
Unfortunately, this year you have to walk to it because
all the park roads are closed. So the only access to Pinnacles National Park is on foot or by bike. If you have a handicap placard, they will let you drive into these areas because the trail we've been on is actually handicap accessible. It's very flat, very smooth surface.
I wouldn't call it
a little
wheelchair
bit of sand,
accessible,
but it's not bad. So this 1.5 mile hike you could do easily with a stroller or relatively easily with a wheelchair.
Well, and if we're game tonight, which I don't know if we will be, there's a great viewpoint over here at the Pinnacles, so we could ride our bikes. No,
Bikes out and then watch the sunset from out here.
We'll see.
So there's the National Park sign. I don't know if that's going to readjust. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There's the hillside and some rock formations just kind of back there in the background. All right, so we're on the Sycamore Trail now, just over 2 miles into the hike. We're kind of walking through this little creek bed area. And all of a sudden, just very, very lush here. This water doesn't make it far because when we started on this trail, there was no water in the creek bed. So somehow it gets diverted off. But this is just gorgeous. We're about 2.5 miles into our hike. This is all closed right now. Normally, during a more typical summer, you'd be able to drive up to this parking area or take a shuttle here to start the hike from here. Of course, that means you have to hike back to here, obviously. But I'm really glad we did the 2.5 miles because it kind of was neat to walk into the area from just hills and then kind of gradually be able to see the rock formations. So this would be a parking spot that you could hike out of. Or of course, if the shuttle was running, we could have shuttled up here and cut 2.5 miles off of our total hike, which is probably what we would have typically done if that had been an option for us. Just start from here and then just hike the loop back to the campground. All right, it's 7:30 and we have taken off
Hold on, I gotta put my glasses on.
We've taken off our outside layer. So we're now in short sleeves. So you can see we got full sun. The sunglasses are on. 2.5 miles into the hike here at the Bear Gulch Dry Day.
You want to say that again?
Yeah.
It's the Bear Gulch Day Use Area.
About 2.5 miles in.
Fantastic because this is a hike with bathroom breaks.
So this is the last pretty much bathroom break.
But I got one.
There are real flush toilets here, running water. There's a water station where you can fill up your water bottles or your pack, so that's good. They're recommending about 1 liter of water per person per hour of hiking. That's probably a little excessive. We're carrying 3 liters and we usually make that last all day, so we should be okay, especially as early as it is.
But we also brought Gatorade just in case. So we've got plenty of salty snacks and we've got Gatorade.
We do. Always prepared.
We say we're always prepared. We have screwed that up once or twice, but we know the climb we're about to make.
Yeah, Bear Gulch Trail, no joke here. Or no, wait, Condor Gulch Trail is no joke here. I
think he's going to put an editorial down there. Sorry, I was stupid with excitement.
Bears and condors, oh my. So far all we've seen are bunny rabbits and deer. All right, let's hike. One mile to the viewpoint, 1.7 miles till our intersection with the Blue Oak Trail, which is where we start going down. So we have 1.7 miles. We have to climb about 1,200 feet.
Oh, geez.
Whoo, boy, here we go. Came up from there, and we're continuing up right there to head up there. So we are at the viewpoint. And smartly, they have put railings here. There's the trail that we came up. There's Michelle saying, "I've seen enough."
No.
And there's more rock formations behind us.
We've got 7/10 of strenuous climbing. I'm saving my energy.
So the last mile we just did was listed as moderate. So on that left set of crags, there are a whole bunch of condors. I don't know if you can make them out or not. Here's Michelle making sure our social media is up to date.
Taking a pano.
All right, so we are now on the Blue Oak Trail, and we have 2 miles back to the Bench Trail, which was kind of our starting trail. So we have about 4.5 miles to go total.
But it's all downhill
From here, everything is downhill. Now, the one thing that was interesting, according to the trail guide that we got at the Park Visitor Center, the Condor Gulch Trail, that 1.7 miles, was moderate to the viewpoint, and then from the viewpoint to the end of the trail, which was the junction we just filmed, is listed as strenuous. I'm gonna disagree.
I think it's all a matter of perspective of the park, though. Like, strenuous sometimes, you know, if you're at Zion, it's short, but you're using chains and it's, you know, it's got something. Here, that could be what is most strenuous in this park. So,
and it was no joke. I mean, there was a
Yeah.
lot of climbing. We climbed 1,100 feet in 1.7 miles, which is a lot.
and if it would have been hotter, it would have been very strenuous.
So the last 7/10 of a mile was no steeper, no more rocky, really just more of the same that we had already had. The one difference I would say is after the viewpoint, there was almost no shade at all. So even early, now it's only 9:30, even early, the sun is full on that section.
But I think I'd rather it say strenuous and not be that bad.
I would agree with that.
Than say moderate and you're going, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
You know?
I would much rather overestimate how difficult it's going to be and then be surprised that it was easy than the opposite.
We always like it to, you know, feel like it's going to be longer and harder so that when we're done, we're like, yeah, we did that. It wasn't that bad.
So the other thing that when we talked to the park ranger that she suggested, which we had already come up with, and she said, you know, that we had it planned
She
correctly,
confirmed it. Yeah.
was to start on the Condor Gulch Trail and then come down the Blue Oak Trail. There's 2 reasons for that. Reason number 1, Condor Gulch, she said, is the hottest trail in the park, and that's because all of the rock just works like a heat sink and just holds all the heat in all day long. So by the end of the afternoon, it's a very, very hot trail, and there's very little shade. It also climbs 1,100 feet in 1.7 miles. The Blue Oak Trail, because it's on the other side of the mountain, gets a lot of afternoon shade and it's a little bit more comfortable. Plus, it descends 1,100 feet in just over 2 miles. So it's not quite as steep.
Wow.
So for going down, that will be helpful.
Okay, you got to stop and just turn the camera around.
Yeah, this is really a stunning view. So here's this beautiful view that we have right now coming down. Not quite as stunning as the Pinnacles, the rock formations were.
I don't care. This is amazing.
But wow, this is some crazy wilderness out here.
And all of the different types of landscape we got going on. It's beautiful.
So when you're on a 10-mile hike, if you feel the need to cut a switchback, shortcut it by like 20 steps, you probably shouldn't really be on a 10-mile hike. You might want to reconsider.
We're not judging, obviously, but it does damage the trails.
It does damage the trail. And we like leave no trace. And the switchbacks are here for a reason. They help with trail erosion. They make it safer. Nothing safe about that shortcut, and it causes erosion on the trail.
You can't touch it.
All right, we are back on the bench trail now, off of the Blue Oak Trail, and we finally have some shade. So the Blue Oak Trail, we were told, had afternoon shade, and it probably does, especially once the sun goes over the mountain. There really wasn't any shade or very much shade for us, but there was a nice breeze. So I definitely feel good about the direction we came down Blue Oak. That was, I think, the best way to hike that trail. In the later afternoon, I'm sure it's definitely much more comfortable also. One thing I want to point out here on the bench trail, and we noticed this a little bit on the Condor Gulch Trail also, and on the Sycamore Trail, is the poison oak. It is everywhere. So you definitely want to make sure that everyone in your hiking group is aware of what to look for and to be on the lookout for, because poison oak is just everywhere, right on the side of the trail. And if you've got kids with you, you definitely don't want them touching it or picking it or messing with it. Yeah, if your hiking poles are coming into contact with it, you want to make sure you're using some wipes of some sort to clean them off rather than just close them up with your hands, because you definitely don't want to transfer that poison oak oil onto your skin in any way, or you will have a very pleasant unpleasant post-hike experience. We've also seen quite a bit of poison ivy, so both of those to be on the lookout for. Otherwise, this has just been a phenomenal hike. Absolutely beautiful terrain and a lot of variety to the terrain, between the rock formations of the pinnacles and high peaks, and then just the rolling hills and the prairies that we saw later, especially coming down the Blue Oak Trail, and now being in this riparian area along this creek bed. Just lots and lots of incredible views that are varied in so many different ways. Is this a 10, Michelle?
I'd give it a 9.
Michelle gives it a 9.
Oh. Don't record now.
I'm recording now. So the trail has gotten a little narrower here, and quite a bit of questionable vegetation that could be poison oak or poison ivy kind of getting close. So Michelle needs to clarify why this hike in Pinnacles is not a 10 and why it's a 9. And I will start by saying I agree with her 100%.
Well, I think for me, it's because I have in my head what a 10 is. So for me, I have 2 hikes within the continental United States, because there is a clarification there. And that is Clouds Rest.
In in Yosemite National Park.
That is definitely a 10 all day. Even Yosemite Falls is a 10. My other 10 is Observation Point.
In Zion National Park.
Zion, where you look down on Angel's Landing. And so I kind of...
Well, and then of course there's Angel's Landing.
Well, yeah. But I kind of compare everything to those when I look at my rating system.
So here's the deal.
The views were short. They were beautiful, but they were short-lived.
If you've never been to Zion or Yosemite, this hike in Pinnacles is a 10. Because let's face it, using Clouds Rest, Yosemite Falls, Observation Point, and Angel's Landing as your bar for a 10 is probably a bar that is a little higher than most.
Well, then I have my 10s that are on the Camino in Portugal and in Spain. So it's a whole thing. It's complex.
You know, the problem we found is the more experienced you become as a hiker, the more you travel, the more you see, the more picky you get about the sites you get.
Well, and the more you just, like, you feel like you know more, but you actually just no less. There's so much diversity in our landscape.
So this is a 9 with a caveat, because I would highly recommend this hike and this park. It's really beautiful.
It's really pretty.
Now, we did hear that in the spring, the temperature is a little bit more moderate. And also because of the rain in the springs, the wildflowers are just kind of insane. So I could only imagine
That's going to be
how beautiful this would be in that time of year.
That's going to be when we're retired and we can go at a different time of year. And the countryside's going to look so much different than anything we've ever seen. Because it'll be a different time of year.
Right.
Which is exciting.
All right. So we are going to, when we get up here to the road, hike the road back. 2 reasons. One, for just a little bit different view rather than backtracking back on the part of the bench trail that we've already hiked. And then second reason was a lot of the bench trail was sand, which neither one of us love walking in. And
it was thick sand.
Walk because of the river creek bed. So we're gonna walk on the road just for a little bit different view and to avoid the sand.
It's narrow and a lot more hikers are starting to come out.
It's true.
So this way we don't need to pass them on a narrow spot.
That is true. So by the way, we've been hiking about 4.5 hours now, and we've come across a grand total of 4 hikers. A solo hiker, a pair of backpackers, and then another solo hiker. So we really did feel today like we had the park to ourselves, which is a rare treat in the summer in a national park.
I think that's why I added to the number on the scale. Certainly not having to be around crowds, which is why Angel's Landing is not in my top 10.
Yeah, Angel's Landing is crowded. Ooh, Abrams Falls, Smoky Mountains, that's another 10.
Acadia.
Well, anything in Acadia is a 10.
We've got too many.
All right, let's finish up this trail. Go get a snack. This was unexpected. Found a brood of turkeys, and they've got babies.